We welcome you back inside the Alex Strouf Show here, presented by Cream City Central. And oh boy, is it about to get fun up in here. On the phone line, we've got the play-by-play voice of the Milwaukee Bucks for the last, not 10, not 20, not 30, not to age of Jim, 34 years. He called the only no-hitter in Brewers history, and a friend of ours here at Cream City Central. We welcome the great Jim Paschke. Jim, how are you, my friend? Thanks so much for taking some time.
Alex, it's great to be with you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
It's so good to hear your voice, Jim. I've missed it so much, man. What the hell have you been up to the last crazy 3 months?
Not much, actually. Trying to stay busy, trying to read and stay up on things, but this has been something different. Never had this happen before. We've had lockout seasons, of course, but that was before play began. So this abrupt stop is something new to us all.
Yeah, you actually lead me into my very next question, Jim. How does this compare to other seasons? You mentioned the lockouts. It doesn't compare, right?
No, I don't think anybody's ever been through this. I don't remember any other situation in pro sports, at least in my life, Alex, where seasons were abruptly stopped and you stayed home for 10 weeks or 11 weeks, whatever it is. I don't even know what day it is. But no, this is totally different. And I know you're going to ask me about the asterisk, and I may as well just bring that up. You know, people say all the time, should there be an asterisk on the NBA champion this year? My point might be there could be a star next to the NBA champion this year, because this is so unusual, and it will take an awful lot for a team to get back and maintain what it had before. The top teams, they were in line for a great season. They were in line for playoffs. It was all building, and that's a cumulative effect. And it's been just ripped away. So I take the opposite view on the asterisk.
See, I actually wasn't going to ask you about that, Jim, because I am 100% with you. That was beautifully said, because I think the asterisk comment that we keep hearing on your normal mediums, I think it's just idiotic, because exactly like you said, you've lost momentum, you've lost chemistry, and now putting the pieces back together to this very, very odd puzzle that we're in the midst of is going to be quite entertaining television once the NBA returns at the end of July.
I think those will be the great stories, is how teams react, how players react, what happens to the chemistry of teams. This is just so unusual and so unknown, it's impossible to predict. So we'll be watching that. We can't make predictions about it now, but we'll be watching it when things get back and play starts again. So it'll be very interesting. And to me, those will be the most fascinating stories as the season moves forward.
And you have the beauty of telling some of those stories, as do I. So it is definitely going to be a lot of fun. So obviously the NBA return plan is in place, came to fruition last Thursday. Give me your thoughts, Jim, all around. What do you think of the NBA's return plan?
Well, you know, to me, it's a plan, and people seem to think that it's some new format. I don't see that yet, Alex. I think it is a pragmatic return to basketball and the playoffs in the season where you have to make adjustments. Yes, there are more teams in the 22 from the West than the East, but those teams in the West were within striking distance, and it would be unfair to leave them out. So it's just a practicality, trying to give teams a fair chance under the current circumstances. I don't see a big format change. Maybe the play-in is interesting, but again, to me, it's just getting the right 8 teams in a very difficult situation. If they had gone to a Premier League soccer situation or whatever, yeah, maybe we could talk about a different format that we could entertain and dissect. But to me, this is just pragmatic at this point. And, the league will end up with 8 teams in each conference, and they'll have playoff games. They're staying with best of 7. The only difference will be the top records in the conference and in the league won't make as much of an impact because the home court is gone. There won't be fans in the stands. You'll be playing in a neutral site. So that's a bit of a different situation. You lose that advantage, I think. And the game without fans will be fascinating to watch. I happen to believe that fans make the spectacle of sport, and if they're not there, the spectacle is reduced. So we'll see. It'll be made for television, and it'll be great. the NBA will always have a great product. It'll just be vastly different than what we're used to.
Joined by the great Jim Paschke here on the Alex Strouf Show, presented by Cream City Central, the TV voice of the Milwaukee Bucks. You mentioned the 8-9 play-in type scenario that is potential. I don't see it happening in the Eastern Conference. I think it's very possible in the West with several teams with the opportunity. Your overall thoughts on the 8-9? And not a huge fan, big fan?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to predict what's going to happen. In fact, this is a plan, and it, in my mind, isn't solidified yet because there's so much that has to go into everything about getting teams to Orlando and how they're going to do that, who's going to be there. So, my mind isn't really focused on 8-9. That will resolve itself, and the 8 games leading up to it will help do that. Obviously, that's what those are for, in part getting ready for the playoff run. But we'll just have to see. I mean, it's hard to tell. And again, which teams are ready? Which teams rebound better from this abrupt stoppage of play? Which teams are mentally prepared to maybe get into the 8th seed and maybe, move through the playoffs and get a deep playoff run going? There might be some surprises. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But those are all the stories that we just have to wait and see on.
That's well said, Jim. Very well said. What's this going to look like for you? Are they going to allow you to go to Florida, or are they going to allow the normal commentators be there? Or are you not sure on what that's going to look like yet?
So far, Alex, we have no information on that. That's what I mean. From inside the NBA, there's a plan, but so far, at least in my world, no definite plans as to what's going to happen. You hear things. We may do games off monitors from a distance, and we may not be in Orlando. I don't know at all, but it's about safety first, and our league was the first league to close down due to safety, and our league will do all of the right things when it comes to keeping the players and everyone involved safe and healthy through this as they try to get sports back and get things somewhat back to normal. I don't know how long it's going to take to be fully back to normal, but this is a start, and we're all happy about that.
Fingers crossed we eventually get there, but who knows if we ever will. You brought up the league and how they were the first to cancel. They're the first, well, not first, but one with a real plan in place. I've always been very open about Commissioner Silver, and I think he does a really, really nice job with the league. From what you've seen from him in his office through this whole period, talk to me about Commissioner Silver.
Well, Adam would want me to immediately say it started with Commissioner Stern, Alex.
Yep.
This has been in place since the early 80s, 82, 83. The league was in big trouble. David Stern came in as commissioner. Bob Lanier was the president of the Players Association at that time, and a gentleman named Larry Fleischer was heading up the Players Association. And essentially those 3 gentlemen, with a lot of help from everyone on both sides, saved the league. And that's when things started to change. The league cooperated with the union cooperated with the league. Everybody, got on board with building this league to what it is today. And Adam has inherited that, and he would tell you that he's a little bit different in his approach, perhaps, than Commissioner Stern was. But when it comes to what the league stands for, what the league tries to do, what the league does in terms of social responsibility, on and on and on, Adam has inherited a pretty good situation, and I'm a big proponent of what the NBA is and what the NBA does. I think it's the greatest league we have, and it's a very well-run organization, and I'm very proud to have been part of it for as long as I have been. Very privileged to be part of an inclusive league, and a league that is constantly trying to do the right thing in so many areas of life.
Again, well said, Jim. I gotta throw this at you, regretfully. I have yet to be in Fiserv Forum, Jim. I have not made my way to Fiserv yet. What's it like in comparison to the BMO?
Well, it's a state-of-the-art arena. It's fantastic. You can't say enough good things about Fiserv Forum. I can't wait to get back there. I miss it.
I believe it.
It's a great venue for basketball. It was built for basketball. The sight lines are terrific. The sound is great. The noise is great. The crowds are great. So everything was done extremely well. The new ownership group hit a grand slam on that one, and they will keep hitting home runs when it comes to Fiserv Forum. They have done many things since it opened to keep it state of the art, and it will always be state of the art, in my opinion. You have to get there, and you will enjoy it.
I do have to get there very soon. Once things get back to at least a little bit normal, I will be there front and center with you, Jim. A couple more for you. Jim Paschke joining us here on the Alex Strouf Show. This has been brought up the last few weeks because I think we're all so damn bored, Jim. And this debate has come out of thin air, and I want you to shut it down for me. This Giannis versus LeBron for MVP, it's not close, right?
Well, LeBron has had an incredible season.
By all means.
And he will get votes, and he deserves those votes. Of course, I think that Giannis has had an even more unbelievable season. When you look at what Giannis has done statistically, Alex, it's phenomenal.
I know.
It's dominant. He's done things that maybe great players have done before him. He's done a lot of things that no one has ever done before. But here's why he's my MVP. He's playing less than 30 minutes a game. He's putting up incredible all-time numbers in 30 minutes. And there have been very few players in the history of the game that have done that, if there have been any. So always look at the minutes. And when you look at Chris Middleton's production, look at his per 36. He's playing fewer minutes, and their production has been phenomenal. And that's the way San Antonio used to operate and win championships. Mike Budenholzer comes out of that system. He is a master at keeping minutes down, and production has followed and has been greater than you would expect with reduced minutes. Typically, when minutes drop, production drops. But Giannis, Chris Middleton, and most of the Bucks have prospered by the system that Coach Budenholzer uses.
And in our next segment, Jim, we're going to be talking about the best 1-2 punches come NBA playoff time. Where would you rank Giannis and Chris off the top of your head?
Well, they're right up there.
They have to be, right?
Obviously, teams are structured. You know, really, the truth is, Alex, you'd have to – there may have been a handful maybe, of NBA championship teams that didn't have two for sure. They've all had two stars predominantly. Maybe the Detroit team in 2004 would not qualify. They didn't typically get credit for having superstars, but most teams that win championships have two. And if you really look closely, there's always a third too. So the teams that win have two and probably three excellent elite players, and the Bucks have two, and the Bucks have more than two, and that's why they are 53-12 so far this season, and why they are still probably one of the favorites to potentially win an NBA championship.
Yeah, 2 is the magic number with those 8 games remaining. That's why I didn't even ask you about it, because it's almost like a downright fact that the Bucks will be the 1 seed. Who do you view in the Eastern Conference as the biggest threat to the Bucks? I say Raptors and Heat.
Well, Miami is interesting. The Bucks struggled against Miami this season. That team plays very hard, and they are extremely well coached, and they gave the Bucks some trouble. If they would face Milwaukee in the playoffs, it would be an interesting series. I'm not discounting Boston. I think Toronto is well coached, and obviously they have a very good team too. So I would say Milwaukee, not in any particular order here, but Milwaukee, Boston, Toronto, and then I put Miami in there. Miami is the surprise in the Eastern Conference this year for me. I thought maybe Indiana would be the surprise when I was looking at things last July and August, but it turns out that Miami jumped in there as one of the better teams of the conference.
Absolutely. Last one for you, Jim, and this is switching gears a little bit, obviously, given the current state of our country, but you've always mentioned, Jim, how important Milwaukee is to you. And this weekend, Giannis and company, many players from the Bucks led a charge for a peaceful protest in Milwaukee. Your thoughts on this? Pretty amazing, right?
Well, again, it starts at the NBA level, and it has filtered down beautifully, and it's always been a situation where the Milwaukee Bucks are part of this community, a meaningful part of this community. So nothing has really changed. The circumstances change, the need changes, but what the team does and what the league does has been very consistent. So I stand behind that. I back that up 100%. And, it's been phenomenal. We go through difficult times in our lives. We go through difficult times as a country, but I always see good things happening, and the Bucks and the NBA have been right in front for me again.
As always, beautifully said. Jim, you stay healthy, my friend. Stay safe. And hopefully next time we chat, we're raising a banner in Fiserv that I will eventually get to.
Wouldn't that be great, Alex? Anytime. I'd be happy to join you again. Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks so much, Jim. That's Jim Paschke, TV play-by-play voice of the Milwaukee Bucks, joining us here on the Alex Strouf Show. And man, oh man, isn't he fun? He lots of great perspective over the course of his 3.5 decades as the voice of the Milwaukee Bucks. And really, I mean, he had great perspective on just about everything I asked. I could not throw a question at him that he couldn't answer. So that was great stuff from Jim Paschke at Paschketball on Twitter, if you are part of the cesspool that I enjoy very thoroughly. So again, we talked about the NBA return plan, and he said there's a plan in place. He doesn't know what's going to happen with him, and none of us really do, because we can't spell out what's going to happen in a month and more than a half. So Jim's been staying safe, staying busy, and it was really good to hear from him. We'll have him back for sure. We are going to take a time out here on the Alex Strouf Show, and on the other side, we will jump into the fight night topic I just teased with Jim. So we will do that on the other side. This is the Alex Strouf Show on Cream City Central.